Hi, welcome to Little Reason. Shane Little here in the man cave. Been a while since I put out a video. There's a subject that I've been longing to discuss for quite a while, and I've been busy doing a lot of things. Been busy building websites, things like this, and it's been distracting me from concentrating on my YouTube channel. So the subject is judgment against those who have come before you. We'll talk about that and other things now on Little Reason. Come, let us reason together. Okay. It's real easy for us sitting in our nice air-conditioned houses and duplexes or apartments or what have you these days to look back just a few hundred years, just a couple of hundred years ago, and think about the people that came before us, and we sit here and think, my gosh, how primitive, how stupid and ridiculous they were. But I want you to consider something, and this is the whole this is the whole crux of the matter here. You have to consider, this is a process of me trying to get you to think about things, which is one of the primary goals of this entire program, is to make you think. I want you to think about where you fit into history. The people that you look at from 200 years ago, there are going to be people 200 years from now that look at you the exact same way. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. And a lot of it comes into language, the use of language, and how we view people that have come before this and how we judge them. We judge their actions, we judge their attitudes. And the most prevalent example that I can think of, for Americans anyway, is the institution of slavery. Now, you'll be hard-pressed to find anybody today who approves of the institution of slavery, which, incidentally, is something that existed long before the Americans ever came along and gave it a go. In fact, the Americans didn't invent slavery. We inherited it from the British Empire. You know, it wasn't Americans, the people that are citizens of the United States now did not invent slavery. We did not go to Africa. Whoever we was, I wasn't there at the time. The people from America did not go down to Africa and bring the slaves in. The British did. All right, we were subject to the crown of Britain way back then, and there were tons of slaves from Africa. Terrible thing. I'm not condoning it. Don't endorse it. I think it's slavery of all stripes and shapes is a terrible thing, worthy of condemnation. But we didn't invent the thing. Slavery existed for as long as as long as history has existed. As long as we have recorded history, there has been slavery. All right? But a lot of people today want to have a very harsh, judgmental attitude against the founding fathers, for example, the people that wrote the U.S. Constitution, because it's hypocritical, and it is. You go and read the Declaration of Independence, and particularly the laws of the Constitution, and you can't come to any different conclusion. These people are hypocrites, and I submit to you that they knew this. That most of them, anyway, they understood the conundrum that they were in. This conflict. They wrote things like all men are created equal. And so it's really tough for us in our modern age, where we've long done away with slavery, and we're well on our way to doing away with lots of racial bigotry and things like that. It's hard for us to fit into our head how somebody can hold two obviously conflicting views. But if you really dig into the history of slavery and what was going on back then, you really quickly begin to learn how it's really, you can actually understand it even today, even if you're a black person who's experienced lots of racial indignities. You can understand the position that these people were in back then, if you're willing to put the time in to study. For example, somebody might say, well, why didn't George Washington or Andrew Jackson or whom have you just release their slaves? Because they knew it was wrong. They knew slavery was wrong. They should have just released them. Folks, newsflash, it was illegal for them to do so. And particularly the founding fathers, George Washington, others, for example, they had a purpose here. They were trying to hold together a fledgling nation that was barely holding together to begin with. Because if they back then, if they lost unity amongst the colonies, the British crown would have rolled right in here and took it all over again. And everything that they had sacrificed and worked toward to build a union amongst these colonies and eventually the states would have been for naught. All those people that sacrificed their lives in the wars, in the Revolutionary War, would have been for nothing. They had to make compromises, and they did, and they were rational, thoughtful things. They weren't just because they were bigoted and they didn't know any better. These people were smart, and they knew what they were doing. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here, is we have a tendency to look at humans that have come years before us, and we have a tendency to look at them as they're some sort of primitive fools. They are not as evolved as we are. They don't know what we know. Well, and in some sense that's true, but what they understood better than perhaps you do is the human nature. They were able to put together a form of republic government that has lasted longer than pretty much any other form of republic has ever lasted in the history of the world. They understood philosophy, they understood governments, they understood human nature. And human nature, by and large, over the centuries, over the millennia, does not change that much. Human beings are still human beings 1,000 years ago, as they are 200 years ago, as they will be 200 years and 1,000 years from now, and further. As long as this video exists, and there are human beings left on the planet to watch it, my words that I am speaking now will still have merit. Think about that. How do you view the people that maintained this institution of slavery 200 years ago? Do you view them as bigots? Are they imbeciles? Are they stupid? What views do you hold against whatever? Take your pick. What is your favorite political issue of the day? Or your favorite scientific view of the day? You like global warming? Are you a global warming alarmist? Do you think it's a bunch of hooey? Do you like gay rights? Do you like gay marriage or gay marriage rights? Things like that. What about anything? Take your pick. Any issue that is popular in political discourse today. I want you to think about the people 200 years from now. Think about this. The people that exist 200 years or 1,000 years from now are going to look at you in the exact same way that you look at people 200 years or 1,000 years in the past. Have you ever thought about that? Most of us probably haven't. And my entire point in this is, like I said, is make you think. Now, I don't know what your political opinions are. I don't care. But my purpose in here is not to make one argument or the other against this or that or the other issue. I don't, slavery. No, that's just the issue that I picked on. It could have as easily gone into our use of language. Pick a word, cripple. All right. Back when I was a little kid, back in the Stone Ages, people that were in a wheelchair or somehow other disabled, we call them crippled. Well, Jimmy over there, he's crippled. He can't get around too much. Well, at some point back in the late 80s, early 90s, something like that, well, that word became, for some odd reason, offensive to people. So we called them handicapped. So the word became handicapped. Well, now here we get into the early 2000s, and even the word handicapped becomes offensive somehow. So we called them disabled people or other, and then it even morphed even further and became other abled people. You see how this goes? This continual evolution of our language. And it becomes more and more politically correct. Well, think about this. If you have a recording of somebody just speaking normally, not saying anything offensive, from 20 or 30 years ago. At least it wasn't offensive back then. And you come and watch it, you import that into the present day, and you're going to look at these people going, my gosh, how bigoted were they? You see what I mean? You see how fast this is changing? And as technology improves and we get the, evolution rolls on and language rolls on and evolves, it's going to get worse and worse. So I want you to think about this. Think about the way you talk today, the political views that you hold today. Fast forward the clock till you're long gone. You're long dead. How are the people in the future, your posterity, your great, 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 great grandchildren, how are they going to look back on you and the attitude that you had toward the people that came before you? My whole point is this, in bringing this up, is, like I said, not to push forward any one political issue or another. I just want you to chill out a little bit and think, where do you fit in to this great grand human experience here in the entire history of the universe? Don't be so quick to judge those that came before you. Yeah, some of them were barbarians and blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of time to judge their viewpoints and what they thought and what they believed and things like that. Just don't be so quick to jump on their case and call them bigoted and stupid and stuff like that, because at some point in the future, there will be people that come back and look at you and they will call you the same things. I personally would much rather the people that come after me to look back at me and at least say, there was a guy who understood that time rolls on and there are no constants in the universe. Whatever I think today, who knows? I mean, we may find out information later on. Hey, couldn't have fathomed, no doubt, the improvements in technology. Who knows where we're going? And that's it. Again, the main goal of this channel is to try to get you to think about things. Think in a deeper level. Think more long term. How do I really, and don't think with your feelings. Think with your head. Feelings are important. Emotions are important, but they're not always necessarily the most important thing. Think with your brain. Think of how you fit in to the big picture. Because a lot of the things that we fight over today, 1,000 years from now, nobody's going to care about them. And no matter what you profess to believe, no matter how many people you call a bigot or stupid, these people that have come before you, it's not going to matter. Because you will be the bigot someday, no matter what you do. And you will be the stupid one someday, no matter what you do. Hope this has given you a little bit to think about. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you're seeing. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching Little Reason.